Jason Reynolds.
Award-winning author.
I was so impressed with him. I read this about you. I hadn't heard of him, to be honest with you. Author Jason Reynolds.
Dear Dreamer.
If you want to see something crazy, look at this. This is what my desktop always looks like. All documents, videos, photos. This is sort of something I've been kind of kicking around since I've been here. I don't know, just trying to keep all of the ideas kind of cooking. I'll show you some super fresh stuff. When you use space or you use the page, you can kind of create your own sort of score with the white space on the page, right? So, like, if you look at this one, right, it says a box. Like, it's super simple. It's nothing crazy. It just is a box, a heavy box. But a box, a heavy box is different like this than it is like this, right? A box, a heavy box becomes a box, a heavy box. And the mind is doing that, right? The mind is going to do that. And then you can have this one works, right? Not a big box or a small box, but big enough to notice and small enough to hide. I want that to be sort of like, I want the rhythm of that to be like, right? And then you can have in a closet, in a corner, under other heavy thing, right? Instead of it being sort of like not a big enough box or a small enough box, but big enough to notice and small enough to hide in the closet, in the corner, under other heavy things, it can be not a big enough box, but not a big box or a small box, but big enough to notice or small enough to hide in a closet, in a corner, under other heavy things. That's the way I think about it. So all this time in my head, all this time sort of taking all this information, all the writing, the rewriting, the throwing this against the wall, that against the wall, scribbling this and scribbling that, this is what it amounts to at the end of the day. And it's a trip every time. It's a trip.
Dear Dreamer, when it comes to my dream, the way I like to describe it is that it's a rabid beast that found me when I was young. It bit me and affected me, but before I could catch it, it shot off into the darkness.
I write my books to tell good stories. I happen to focus on young people because I think that young people still have so many interesting things to explore. There's a sense of wonder and a sense of curiosity and a sense of innocence and a sense of preciousness and a sense of fear and anxiety that adults tend to mask. There's an imagination that adults tend to lose. Adult novels tend to be a bit more limiting than young people's literature, even though the argument is that young people's literature is limiting, right? That you can't say this or you can't say that. People who say that have no idea what it actually is. I say anything I want to say. I write about whatever I want to write about, no matter how traumatic or how complicated it is. I write about that because that's the lives of children in America today. I knew the ice cream truck. I knew my next door neighbors and their fathers sort of dying. I knew double Dutch jump rope and four-wheel roller skates. You knew where not to go. You knew where to go. You knew what neighborhood you couldn't step foot in and what street you couldn't go down, right? You knew who had the mean dogs and whose dog was always off the leash, who had the Rottweiler, who had the pit bull. You knew these things, and I never saw that in the book. Where were those stories for me? They didn't exist, so I didn't read. It was in the ownership of my own story that my life was sort of expanded. It was in the honesty in my own experiences that made room for me.
Me and my friend Danny, as kids, 8 years old, no need jeans and hand-me-down t-shirt from Sean, flower dress, shorts underneath for Danny, who hung from a monkey bar, tongue hanging from her mouth like pink candy, the sun shining in my eyes, the sunshine in hers.
My mother would make you feel so badly if your clothes were wrinkled. Like she just felt like if you're going to step out of our home, you're going to represent this house. And because I come from a Black community, my mom always felt like you're going to represent this house, your neighborhood, and every Black person on earth. You're the representative of this culture, this history, right? And a lot of us are sort of taught and trained and brought up this way, this sort of collective. You are we, right? You are all of us. And so you have to present yourself a certain way. For her generation, it was about clean shoes. It was like, look, no matter what, you shine your shoes before you step out of the house because your shoes say a lot about you when it comes to you bumping up against